Right, let's move on to our other stories of the day now. In part one of Murder in the Dark, our senior Coast reporter Ferdinand Omondi discovered yet more evidence in the real story behind the death of 14-year-old Kwekwe Mwandaza. Ferdinand found a spent bullet cartridge from what appears to have been a hail of gunfire that rained down on Kwekwe's mud-walled home in Maweu village, Kinango.
Well, tonight we go further into the harrowing tale beyond the night of her death. 2 weeks of intrigue that sought, it would seem, to cover up the cause of Kwekwe's murder. Here now is part 2 of Murder in the Dark with Ferdinand Omondi.
The cause of death is a severe head injury due to single gunshot from a high-velocity firearm. High-velocity example is a G3 or a AK-47.
The post-mortem exam had identified the firearm but could not establish the range which ballistics was expected to determine. But here in Kwale, there is little doubt that Kwekwe was shot at point-blank range given the size of the house. If indeed it was self-defense, why did they have to shoot again and again even after Kwekwe was down? If indeed they burst into the house, did Kwekwe even have the time and awareness in the dead of night to find a panga and wield it at 8 armed officers?
Hiyo ni urongo kabisa. Kwekwe aliwakaribisha. Aliposikia mlango unagongwa, hakusita kwa kitanda, aliinuka akaenda pale mlango wa mbele. Alafu alipovunja mlango kuingia hivi, alipoona amevaa sare za polisi, akawaheshimu sana. Kwekwe akawaambia kama mmefuata mjomba pengine, si yeye ndio mtu mzima hapa ndani, basi ingieni, lakini mjomba hayuko. Unaona? Hiyo ndio ilikuwa neno la mwisho kwa Kwekwe, na wakamfyatulia risasi.
The family says the police officers attempted to kill the 10-year-old Mugandi in order to cover up the fiasco.
Kulingana na statement ya Mugandi, anasema alivyomalizwa Kwekwe, wakaingia hapa ndani, wakamchukua, wakamtoa nje. Wakati huo mwili pale wameutoa. Kufika pale nje, wameweka chini, wakamwambia Mugandi, wakamwambia Mugandi apige magoti pale kwenye ule mwili wenye damu. Mugandi akapiga magoti pale kwa ndugu yake. Nasikia alivyosema Mugandi, kuna askari mmoja akatoa pistol, akasema wacha tumalizwe shahidi kabisa. Unaona? Mwingine akasema huyu ni malaika, hakuna ushahidi wote atatoa, wachana naye. Akamshindikiza na teke. Yule polisi alikuwa ameshika pistol, akamshindikiza Mugandi na teke mpaka akamwangusha. Alafu akamwambia rudi ndani ukalale. Mugandi kuingia hapa akachukua, kulikuwa na jishiti kubwa na ndugu yake wakajifunika kwa sababu ya uoga. Na hao wakachukua mwili wakaenda zao.
It is still not clear why the police had to storm the house in the first place. Stories have emerged that they were pursuing Kwekwe's uncle, who allegedly was a wanted criminal.
For me, it doesn't matter. When you pursue a suspect, you don't go killing anyone you meet on the road, as you are pursuing the suspect. You will recall that even to date, they have not arrested that person they are saying they were pursuing. We do not know the kind of offense that person had committed. There is nobody who deserves to die on account of another person. It doesn't matter whether they were pursuing Al-Shabaab, whether they were pursuing Osama bin Laden. It does not matter whatsoever. It's actually a shame to use that as an excuse.
Kwekwe's family claims that before they took her body away, they stripped her naked. The intention, they say, was to make it look like Kwekwe had been raped and dumped somewhere in a forest.
Wakachukua mwili wakaenda zao, tena wakauvua nguo. Kitu cha kusikitisha na cha kushangaza, waliuvua nguo mwili wakazitupa njiani, wakaupeleka mwili ukiwa uchi.
Hadi wapi?
Mpaka Kinango.
Kukaja habari kwamba hapo kwa ofisi ya Buri, kukaja habari kwamba polisi wa Kinango wanasema hati mwili wameokota msituni. Hali sisi tulikuwa tushakota tayari zile sasa. Tukaongea na utamuti kuambia sisi hatuwezi ongea zaidi. Twendeni pale kwa nyumba tukaonyesha ule ushahidi.
The family, however, says they found Kwekwe's clothes dumped barely 400 meters away from the house where she had been shot. Their frantic search for the body ended when Area Chief Samson Chale Joho called them to say Kwekwe's body had been found at the Kinango District Hospital. However, rights activists in this region began raising the red flag over what seemed to be the chief's determination to rush Kwekwe's funeral. The family had disputed the first post-mortem results, which suggested that Kwekwe had died of cardiac arrest. Muhuri advised them to postpone the funeral until Monday, 25th August, for pathologists from Nairobi to conduct a second autopsy. But as they waited in Mombasa, Chief Chale was already making funeral plans on the 23rd.
Tayari kapata simu kutoka kwa shemegi yake ambayo yuko Kinango, ambayo walikuwa wanashughulika wote kwamba mwili ushatolewa na Chifu Chale wa Mwatate location, ambapo hapo Chale kumbe huko nyuma alikuwa amelazimisha mama Kwekwe atie sign, mama Kwekwe akatoroka.
Nikasikia alikuja yule chifu na mjomba wake huyu bwanangu, kwa sababu bwanangu niliachana naye kitambo, mimi niko kwetu. Akapiga simu yule askari wa pale mochari, akasema basi yule mama yule marehemu atafutwa, aje atie saini yule mtoto atoke. Nikasema mimi kama ni hivyo sitaenda huko, kamwambia yule askari wa pale mochari sitaenda, natafuta gari nyingine niende zangu.
The chief sought the attention of Kwekwe's estranged father, who had separated from his wife 12 years ago and who the family claims never supported Kwekwe at all to approve the funeral. It was a chess move they never saw coming. Kwekwe lived in her maternal home in Maweu all her life, but she was buried in Nunguni, her father's home, without the consent of the people who took care of her, and in total disregard of the pleas to suspend the burial pending a second autopsy. The family painfully recalls that even the burial itself was conducted without proper cultural proceedings and in what they saw as a humiliating manner.
Sisi tulisema wacha tusiongee kitu hapa, wacha tuone tu vile inakuwa. Na wakafanya mambo yao, wakazika mwili bila hata nguo, mwili ulizikwa tu mahali chini kwenye mchanga uliwekwa na ukabaki hivyo hivyo na wakafukia.
Na pia vile alivyozikwa si hali ya kawaida, hata japo mtoto wake ni huyo wa kwanza, lakini alizikwa kama karatasi tu.
The family later realized that Kwekwe was buried without burial permit, which is necessary by law.
Kuonyesha kuwa chifu hapo kuna kitu alikuwa anaficha hapo. Kwa nini alimbeba bila permit na kasika bila permit, na ilikuwaje akumbuke kuwa kuna permit? Hata amwagizie babake msichana, babake marehemu tuseme tarehe 26, amwambie aende kwa sababu chifu achukue permit ya na andikiwe tarehe 22. Alikuwa anaficha nini? Chifu tuko naye tashishi sana.
We found out that the burial permit was dated on 26th. Well, the body was buried on 23rd. So there were a lot of irregularities.
This insult to injury strengthened their resolve to find justice for Kwekwe, and with the assistance of human rights groups, they filed a petition to exhume the body.
The girl was living on the mother's side. So the mother's side were cooperating with us. And they wanted the postmortem to be done by a private pathologist. Well, chief and the security organ were against it. So they did their postmortem with the local doctor, and then they took the body from the mortuary to this village without the consent of both parents. And the deceased was buried at night at 10 o'clock exactly.
But Kwekwe's father, the man who they claim never bothered with her for 12 years, also filed a petition seeking to block the exhumation.
Shemegi kitu cha kushangaza, badala awe pamoja na sisi tumfuate nyuma, yeye shemegi akapeleka wakili kotini, anakataa mwili ufukuliwe, ikiwa sisi family hatujatosheka na ushahidi ambao umeandikwa na daktari. Kitu cha kushangaza sana. Sasa tunashindwa msimamo wa shemegi ni gani mpaka sasa ya.
On September 9th, the High Court in Mombasa made a decision.
This court therefore does find merit with orders sought for exhumation of the body of Kwekwe and the conducting of a second post-mortem examination. It is ordered that exhumation of the body of the deceased be carried or conducted as prayed, and leave to conduct an independent post-mortem examination is hereby granted.
And on the 13th of September, family, friends, lawyers, human rights activists, counselors and many other people gathered in Nguni to witness an event they had never seen before. The atmosphere choked with agony, grief and tears as the body of Kwekwe Mwandaza was disturbed from its final resting place. Kwekwe's mother wailed through the entire exhumation, losing consciousness at one point. And as the body was carried away for the post-mortem exam, she found the strength to ask for one thing.
The
administration that hurriedly buried her, led by Chief Samson Chale Joho, was conspicuously absent on the day of the exhumation. 3 pathologists, led by Chief Government Pathologist Johansen Oduor, did the second autopsy at the Kinango District Hospital, and when they were done, the family won.
The cause of death is a severe head injury due to single gunshot from a high-velocity firearm. High-velocity example is a G3 or a AK-47.
The pathologists ruled out any other cause of death.
She didn't have any other disease that may explain her death because we have done a full autopsy, and we all concur among the pathologists that apart from the gunshot injury, there were no other pathological conditions in her body.
The doctors also did not hesitate to fault the ambiguity and inaccuracy of the initial police report, which now lends credence to the suspicions of a grand cover-up.
Probably just a caution to our colleagues in the medical field. The formulation of the cause of death is extremely important. In such a case, when it is so obvious that it's a gunshot wound and it is not emphasized, then it causes a lot of ambiguity. And as you can see, it necessitates a repeat post-mortem, which is not only costly, but it is also has a traumatic effect to the family and to the larger community.
Strangely, only a few days after Kwekwe's death, none other than the Inspector General of Police, David Kimayo, had already jumped to the defense of the officer before the investigations were even conducted.
That particular person, during the course of the arrest of some suspects, it took a panga and in darkness attempted to cut an officer who prevented or defended himself with the firearm that they had, and the firearm was cut. And on the process then, the next officer who was there seeing his colleague is almost being injured, then he used that particular firearm without knowing now whether it was a girl or a man or anybody.
We also hope that the Inspector General of Police will do what is right, which, in my view, is first to apologize to the people of Kenya, not just the family, to the people of Kenya and the family of the young girl for jumping into conclusions and defending his men before knowing the truth.
The family now hopes that the new and honest autopsy report will help find justice for Kwekwe. They also hope the ballistics report will be equally honest and will help track the officer who fired the shot. We caught up with Kwekwe's father at Kinango District Hospital during the autopsy. He was almost apologetic for attempting to block the second autopsy.
Nilikuwa sijapata mtu wa kunifahamisha kwa uzuri, ndio sababu kawa alikuwa bado nakataa. Lakini nilipopata mawasiliano mazuri na wageni kutoka mbalimbali, ndio nikaona afadhali nifuatilize vile sheria.
Back in Maweu, the family is still reeling. We are told that all the women in this homestead now huddle themselves in one house for the night for fear of the unexpected. The people mandated by law to protect them have now become a symbol of death and horror.
Nataka ile maskara fanya vile usimamshwe kazi. Na mimi mwenyewe na nipate haki yangu.
Na inasikitisha mpaka leo kwamba mapolisi ambao walikwenda nyumbani wakifetwa risasi wakamua mtoto wa miaka 14, mtoto wa kike, msichana, na mpaka leo hakuna hata askari mmoja ambaye ametiwa ndani.
We are hoping that the 3 doctors who are both from government and independent, will file their report with the DPP as well as with the court. And we hope that the necessary responsible decision will be taken to prosecute.
The case of Kwekwe Mwandaza has three sides: the police side, the family side, and the facts. And two facts stand out. It was the police who shot 14-year-old Kwekwe Mwandaza, and they went to great lengths to cover their tracks. They knew they had committed a crime, and in a just society, action has to be taken. In a just society, there will be justice for Kwekwe. Ferdinand Mondi, KTN, Maweu, in the county of Kwale.